And something that really excites me actually is one that you've been working with recently. You mentioned it on a last podcast you did, and it was working with a company exploring PEMF for hair growth. So, we see these red light caps, and we see how red light therapy, photobiomodulation, laser, all that sort of thing is dominating the kind of hair growth market. But I really think personally, there's a huge application with PEMF and hair growth. And, it's really cool to see that, in development at the moment is a PEMF cap. So do you think that's hair growth is underrated in PEMF, and what are you finding with that?
Well, I would like to talk about this briefly at some length. So I was a skeptic. I'm like, well, first of all, I'm 62 and look at my hair. It's like, it's not dyed. This is just my hair. My wife had to cut it because it was all like Einstein last week, so I kind of don't even think about it. So I don't know. I don't have the same lived experience as a person like my brother who lost most of his hair. He's a year younger than me. So, something's going on. We don't know. It's not entirely genetic, but, it's ironic and I think probably irritants a lot of men. I just don't care about it. And here it is. I got this full head of hair, for a 62-year-old, I think it's a lot of dark hair, but I don't really know about it. However, I do know that the market for it writ large, the whole market, like getting into the market, I think, is ferocious. And the amount of money that changes hands is huge because a lot of men have and a lot of women too, have real concern about hair. So I've always been, I would say, foolishly dismissive of this. I'm all like, well, it's not as important as chronic pain or anything. Well, it's very important to some people. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand. However, if I'm going to do anything in this market, I'm going to do it with a maximum amount of integrity because this market just simply does not need another, charlatan. Because, like you say, there's a great potential here, but how do you kill that potential? Well, you do it by trying to defraud people. And then people are like, this is nonsense, right? So over the years, I had been approached 38 times, 38 different companies had come to me and said, would you develop the PEMF hat for hair growth? And I said, well, I'll be happy to talk to you about doing that. So it was 2, 3 or 4 times a year, every year for as long as I've been doing this. And I'd say, well, yeah, let me talk to your scientists or your staff, engineers, and we'll roll up our sleeves and see if we can work together at some point. And they're like, oh no, we really don't do science. We really don't do engineering. We'd want to have you do that for us. And I tell them, I don't know anything about this. You got to bring something to the table. And they're just a marketing group, right? Because they've identified huge potential market, right? And they want someone to give them a solution. I'm like, well, I kind of don't have time. I'm really kind of busy. And I need to kind of stick to my knitting, as we say here, and do the things I do well, because this is what people need. But I had several of these 38 people who approached me over the years say, look, it doesn't even have to work. We just want to use your credibility and just make a LED flash and then we can sell it. Trust us, we can sell it. I even had a guy, I don't know if I told you this last time. I had a guy offer me a villa in Cancun. They were doing a what do they call it? Medical tourism company down in Mexico. And it was a whole community. And they had like $100 million in investment. And he was telling me this. He was very proud. He's like, yeah, we're going to do the whole thing, like couples therapy and, erectile dysfunction and hair growth, super, super big. And he said, so if you are willing to do this for us, we'll set you up for the rest of your life. You can have a villa in Cancun in our community. And that's what they were going to pay me, my compensation. And I talked to them seriously, and they just weren't serious about making something that works. And they weren't going to put the resources into really figuring this out. And I said, well, we kind of need to talk to a dermatologist, and we need to, we really need to fund this if you want something that's really going to work. And they said, well, we're not interested in that, but we'll set you up, and we'll, and if you give us something that's credible enough that we can sell it here, that would be great. And you'll make millions of dollars. Right. And I was like, well, I like money. That's why I'm in business. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making money. money's a good proxy for a person who works hard. You work hard, you make money. That's not always true. Don't, hold the hate back. But working hard and expecting to get paid for it, I think is very reasonable. So I turned them down. So that's 38 times. And then about 2 years ago, a company who I'm going to name, StimuCell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm naming them because they are doing this right. And they came to me and they asked me the same question. I told them, I said, look, I've turned people down all the time. I really don't have time for this unless you can put me in touch with, your technical staff and we can really make this work. And they did. They had an FDA guy and 2 dermatologists and, a person who was literally like me, a life scientist, a physiologist, actually. And we talked it all through. And I decided, I'm going to help these people because they have already made the commitment to make something that works. And so I worked with them for about a year, not quite, maybe 10 months. And I made sure they were going to do this right. And so we had a quantitative, clinically used assessment of hair growth by dermatologists, right? And so I designed a hat for them. And so it's based on my technology. It's more what I gave them is more like a skull cap and they put a hat around it. And it's based on my approach to the technology. And so it could be battery powered. You can run on like a 9-volt battery or something. And we used it. And I was talking to their scientist and she was kind of a contrarian, kind of really hard scientist to talk to, even for me. I said, well, what did you think? And she goes, it was unreasonably effective.
Mm-hmm.
So I completely removed myself from their clinical testing, and they did clinical testing for months, and I didn't bias them at all. And so the first feedback I got, I said, did you say unreasonably? She said, yeah, nothing ever has shown this positive of an effect on, like if you count hairs that are shedding during showers, or they actually were using artificial intelligence. They're imaging scalp with these special cameras that dermatologists use. They were measuring number of, hair shafts and their diameter, everything. She goes, it just helped everything. She goes, it's unbelievable. And so I worked that. It was really great. They showed me their data and I was completely removed from it. I was like, wow, this is really awesome. They said, yeah, we're really excited. And so I helped them develop this into a product. And I actually, I started once again as a skeptic and, poo-pooing it. I was wrong again, but it was because I kept my powder dry, as we say here in the United States, keep your powder dry, reference to gunpowder, ready to shoot when you can shoot at something. And then that's what this was. I kept my powder dry. I didn't work with any company that had low integrity. But when I found a company, actually, they found me. I was delighted to work with them. And the results are really strong, I think. And I mean, do you mind if I specify the company I'm talking about?
No, okay? Sure. Yeah,
It's StimuCell, STIMU, capital S, capital I, capital L, StimuCell. And they're out of Europe. And people I talk to there, they're in Portugal, Spain, and is one of their important people is in Istanbul. And the company's centered in the U.S. There's a business headquarters here, but it's like a legit company, and they did legitimate stuff before. And, I asked them, so why are you asking me this? And then they showed me they had done this very thorough search of the scientific literature, and it was very easy and natural for me to work with them. And we tried a few things, and almost immediately we were getting very, very good effects. And then they turned it into what I think is just a fantastic product. And the thing is, it costs more than I would want it to. I kept saying, well, can you make it less expensive so people can use it? And they said, no, actually they put a lot of work into this, and they put a lot of money into development, and they're using good quality stuff. And it really, really seems to work. That's what they tell me. Now I can't test it on myself, right? That's the problem. And I'm my biggest guinea pig, but even the guy that I'm talking to who runs a company, he clearly has more hair now. He's been using it for like a year. It's just, it's amazing. So anyway, I agree with you. It's got great potential. And if I have any credibility with your audience, then I would say, I put my technology to work in their product. And as far as all evidence goes, it's working really well.
Yeah. And just, just from another personal standpoint, a personal experience, 90% of my family have got bald heads. It runs in the family. And actually, when I was 20 years old, I started losing my hair. And up until 25, or about 24, which is when I got sick and started using PEMF therapy, I'd lost quite a lot of my hair. My hairline had gone quite far back. And I did end up getting a hair transplant, but that was only from about 6 years ago because that's when I can afford to do it.
Right.
So it was finance reasons. But what I noticed was from about 25 onwards, my receding stopped. So if you see these pictures of me when I was in my 20s, you'll see that my hairline was quite receded, but it stopped going back. So when I went for the consultation, they said to me, it's gone quite far back, and it will, when you have a hair transplant, it will continue to go back, and you'll end up, people that have a hair transplant end up having 2 or 3. And he said to me, you're going to have to keep up with these injections, and you're going to have to take these medications to make sure the hair's strong and all that sort of thing. And I said to him, I don't want any of that. I'm a biohacker. I don't want to take unnecessary tablets and that sort of thing. And he said, well, if you follow this protocol, I'll see you again in 10 years for your next hair transplant. If you don't follow these protocols, I'll see you again in 2. And that was about 6 years ago now. I had my hair transplant. And last time I went to see them, they said to me, you're definitely taking something because your hair's getting thicker. And, for me, I definitely blame it on the PEMF. Daily PEMF therapy is definitely helping. And it's an application that I've been screaming out for ages. And putting it into cap, I think, is such a great idea. So it's good to see that is developing and moving forward.
Yeah.
Making it easy to use, and so it's a great step ahead. And coming back to development, it's good to see that time for products is taken to come out. Like proper development. When we developed Celerate, I always mention it on the podcast. It took us 6 years from the design to a finished product. And do you think consumers sometimes underestimate the research, the testing, and the engineering involved when they're looking at pricing?
When I first started in doing this as a sort of direct-to-consumer business, people were like, well, should I buy one now or should I wait for the new one to come out? And I'm like, well, I would list that as the third biggest misconception, because you were asking me about misconceptions in PEMF. That's the third biggest misconception. I think it's the first biggest misconception that people have of the technology markets in general. What they don't understand is that the new next year's model, well, that's been in development for 5 or 10 years. And very often it's at hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. And I remember there was one example was on the early Apple laptops, they would have like LEDs, but Steve Jobs was just adamant. He's like, when an LED is turned off, you shouldn't be able to see it. Just when it turns off, it needs to fade away and go away. And they used to have those little white LEDs on the edges of the Apple laptops. And they spent $100 million and nearly 6 years, I think it was, just coming up with a way to make an LED that you could see when it was on and would vanish when it was turned off. You couldn't see the outline of a turned off LED. It was like $100 million to solve that technical problem. What I'm telling you is that, everybody thinks there's going to be some new great thing next year. And they absolutely do not understand that the ramp up time for any of these new technologies is, I would say, a typical ramp up time for technology is about a decade. From when they start working on it, pouring money into to when they can actually bring it to market. But they do this with cars too. I mean, you get into a car and you're like, oh, this is a new model. And you realize they just stamp different shaped body panels. It's the same engine, the same everything, it's not a new car. And they do this with aircraft, like military aircraft. The first 10 years, they're testing a new military aircraft. It's all avionics from an older airplane because it takes so long to do this. And so like it took me 15 years to go from my work with NASA to putting that into a product that could actually sell to people. And whenever people say, well, are you going to come up with something new and better, a new wafer or something next year? I'm like, no. My advice to people is if you need PEMF now, get it now. Don't
Yeah,
wait for the newest model. It's going to have some incremental, micro improvement next year, because I don't do that. I will spend years developing a new product, and I can put a new product out with meaningful physical and functional improvements maybe every 6 or 8 years.
Yeah. And it's an interesting point. We talk about this before, so many brands now are white labeling products and they're releasing new products every day. So it's kind of like, big red flag for me is if somebody's selling hyperbaric chambers one day and then the next day they're selling red light devices and then they suddenly introduce a PEMF device, you should really consider that the fact that that's just a white labeled product from a mass production.
Absolutely.
And
that's absolutely true. I was at one of these big, alternative functional medicine meetings, and there was like this sort of electromedicine section, and there was 3 competing PEMF companies, and all 3 of them had exactly the same box, plastic box. They were all white labeled from Eastern Europe, probably made in Romania, actually. And they just had a different faceplate on them for the company. And I literally stepped back. I got to find this picture. I stepped back enough that you could see all 3 of them. And they were selling them as if they were different products. And they were at exactly the same price point. They were exactly the same form factor, even the same plastic, enclosure, the box they put them in. It's just they were labeled differently. So a lot of people don't realize they're buying white labeled Soviet era PEMF devices from Eastern Europe.